But with the Hungarian minor scale, I can't play that now. It's not the scale, so if I have that, so why not take some idea? So now all of a sudden, I get that familiar sound that I'm used to playing with, but just that one note different. It's really cool. So seriously, I'm using my whammy bar. I just like strum over A, like A minor, like. Sounds just by playing with the dyads, just again layering, possibilities, going through and never sort of being satisfied with just playing through the scale as is. I mean, learning it with a combination of 3 notes and 2 notes per string, and just 3 notes per string. That's just one very, very small portion of what you can do with that kind of stuff. Trying to put with different configurations of the notes. And the dyad, doing the dyads just between the G and E string, you can get crazy. So I'm doing like basically E string, E note, the A string, the E flat, and then playing with the B string now. So it's cool. All over A. Play that A again, same kind of thing. That's good. You can hear this really, really tense sound, but you might want to go for that. I listen to like a lot of different bands like Decibel Omega and all that kind of weird, dissonant black metal. It takes your ear a while to get used to those sounds because they are very harsh. I mean, hearing it out. But I think you'll find that once you get used to it, especially if you have some sort of, again, motif within the riff, the listener will latch on to it. I'm just going. Right, one note's up here, and then now you could just play E flat, E over that. Right. But you could also look at it from a scale point of view and say, like, play A minor as well, and it would give you, just dissonant sound because now these notes are functioning differently. But it's kind of a cool thing to mess around with, especially if you put it in like more of a riff-based context. Something that's a little bit off the beaten path. That's not just, your run-of-the-mill, heavy minor sounding riffs. By using the scale and trying to use different bits of counterpoint in there, we can do some cool stuff. Just know that. it sounds cool.
So like that's it. You're just playing around with that scale like a dissolution ritual, like. Is that
what am I doing? It's I think I'm using a little bit of a harmonic minor, Hungarian minor, a little bit in that scale for sure. Yeah, good to hear. Yeah, it's just sort of like an A minor sound, but I am throwing that in there, and it's cool to use hybrid stuff, right? Yeah. If I have something that's, for instance, if I have this, right? Now I could play a harmonic minor over that, but I could also play a Hungarian minor. So there's certain ways where you can kind of play both scales, and that way you just have more note possibilities. And you can start playing, right? So you start off, even though harmonic minor would still consider to be sort of an exotic sounding scale, Hungarian minor to me is more exotic. So. And then you throw that note in there and all of a sudden it takes you to that different territory. You sort of establish a sound and you have the listener at a certain expectation. Okay, I'm hearing like a harmonic minor sound, okay, this is cool, but maybe I've heard it before. And then all of a sudden, whoa, that flat 5 just, comes out of nowhere and totally, spices things up a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So that's just sort of like another use of a Hungarian minor, and the bass is literally going almost like a surf rock. So yeah, you could find tons of different uses of it, and just like learning a scale, that's a good ear rhyme. So look through your songs that you like, and try and see where those scales are being used. Maybe the first time I was playing around with just my basic modes. We're talking about more exotic territory. We're talking about Hungarian minor and harmonic minor, just the regular modes. Going through and being like, oh, like preaching death. One of the most iconic riffs of all time. That's just preaching, or Symbolic by Death. Right, that's Phrygian too. So you start to say, hey, a lot of riffs that I like, that are like some of my favorite riffs of all time, they're all using Phrygian. Light bulb goes off, like maybe I'll play around with the Phrygian scale and try and achieve that kind of sound. So that way you can kind of really have music theory work for you, instead of just it being like, oh, that's just something that it's not going to be important or this or that. If you start to analyze things, then you can say like, oh, it's not like I have to go back to the drawing board and start fresh every time. I can have a framework of stuff that I already like and dig the vibe of and the sound of, and from there start playing around with stuff. And you can do this with all sorts of different scales. I like to use a midi and flat 7. Sometimes that's not a really cool scale. That one's, we've been talking about major scales, but if I do midi and flat 7, that's a major scale. Or did I say major scale? We've been doing minor scales. This would be major scale. And it's got that sharp 4. So it's almost like a Lydian scale. Right? But it's got a flat 7. Hence the term Lydian flat 7. So you can get really, really cool riffs that are typically in a major key because it has a major third. And to me, major scale or major sounding riffs, aren't explored that much in metal because, let's face it, it's more of like a, minor centric type of music. But you can certainly, come up with cool major sounding stuff if you just tweak a couple notes. And if I just go, right, that sounds more like a happy rock riff. all of a sudden it has like, it's almost like a weird like void body kind of rhythm or something like that. Some penta kind of thing. You know, working whole tone scales. So you can really get so many possibilities just by going through it. Scale stuff. Any questions about that at all?
It's a lot to work on.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen in an hour.
What's that?
It's not gonna happen in an hour.
Yeah, no. And again, like, I mean, all this stuff, I'm kind of throwing a bunch of stuff at you. By no means do I expect you to, like, be like, oh yeah, and then all of a sudden you can, like, shred the harmonic minor scale or Hungarian minor scale and come with a million different possibilities. I'm just trying to show you guys, like, where you could take it. You know, here's the framework, and here's some ideas of, you know, how to break out of that box. But it takes time, you know. It's one of those things where, I mean, you can work on, it's all about your practice regimen. You know, like, a lot of times, you know, we'll sit down and we'll play through stuff and we'll feel like we're practicing, but in reality, maybe we're not making the best use of our practice time. One of the best things one of my old teachers told me, which I tell my students to this day, is practice makes perfect is a lie, right? Perfect practice makes perfect, right? If I'm sitting there and I'm playing an hour on a major scale that I know up and down, right, and you know everything that I'm hearing out of this thing sounds good, well, then I'm probably not really practicing. I'm playing stuff that I'm already good at. You know, maybe I'm maintaining some sort of level of chops, but I'm not really pushing myself outside my comfort zone. So you shouldn't sound good when you practice. If you do, you're doing something wrong. You should sound like you suck when you practice. And it's, you know, it's something that we don't want to hear because we want to, you know, sound good all the time. But if, you know, some people, you know, have it all up here, other people it's better to make a list. So it all depends on what, you know, how you learn best. But, you know, if you could make a chart for yourself or a list or whatever, it doesn't have to be like a spreadsheet in Excel. It could just be something that you jot down. Like, okay, 20 minutes, I'm going to work on Hungarian minor scale, like, 'cause that's new. And then you really focus on that. And then maybe 20 minutes you work on, you know, some chop building exercise. Maybe it's the Enter the Hall thing that we worked on from the beginning. And then the other 20 minutes we'll reserve for maybe like improvising or something, or whatever, you know. But that way you break up your practice routine into stuff that's, you know, going to be useful to you, rather than, oh, I played for 2 hours today. When in reality, yeah, you played for 2 hours, but you played like, you know, Pantera Walk, which you already can play, or something like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's good to, you know, set different practice regimens for yourself. I remember I saw one thing online, you know, where this jazz guitar player Miles Okazaki, just killer player, and he had half hour on a timer, and he was just working on his alternate picking. And for a half hour, he literally went up and down a chromatic scale all over the neck, and I think he timed it perfectly, so it was literally 10,000